My name is Sarah Michelle Torres, I'm 32 years old, and I just spent $80,000 on a yacht. Not because I'm rich, though my software engineering salary is comfortable, but because my family forgot my birthday for the fourth year in a row. The morning of March 15th started like any other. I woke up in my downtown Chicago apartment, made my usual coffee, and checked my phone. Nothing. No calls, no texts, no happy birthday messages. The silence felt like a punch to the gut, but honestly, I wasn't surprised anymore. By noon, I'd made a decision that would split my family apart forever. I walked into Harbor Point Marina with my laptop bag and a checkbook. 3 hours later, I was the proud owner of a pristine 2019 Sea Ray Sundancer 320. White hull, navy blue accents, and enough space for 8 people who actually remembered I existed. That evening, I posted 3 photos on Instagram, me standing on the bow at sunset, the yacht's nameplate reading self-love, and a champagne glass raised toward the Chicago skyline. The caption was simple: birthday gift. To myself. Within 20 minutes, my phone exploded. Sarah, what the hell is this? My sister Emma's text came first, followed by a barrage of angry emojis. Then Mom, we need to talk. Now. Dad called 6 times before I answered. Sarah, honey, what's going on? Emma showed us your post. Did you really buy a boat? It's a yacht, Dad. And yes, I did. With the bonus I earned from the Morrison project. My voice was steadier than I felt. But sweetheart, that's such an impulsive decision. Maybe we should discuss this as a family. A family? I laughed, and it came out bitter. The same family that forgot my birthday today? Again? The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Oh my God, he whispered. Sarah, it's your birthday? That's when I knew this wasn't just about a forgotten date. This was about 32 years of being invisible in my own family. If you've ever felt forgotten by the people who should love you most, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Trust me, this is just the beginning. The next morning brought what I can only describe as an intervention. Emma stormed into my apartment using the spare key I'd given her for emergencies, Mom trailing behind with that worried expression she usually reserved for my teenage years. We need to return it, Emma announced, not even bothering with hello. Whatever ridiculous midlife crisis this is, buying a yacht isn't the answer. But as I looked at my sister, successful, married, mother of 2, standing in my living room demanding I return my first real act of self-care, I realized something had shifted inside me overnight. The quiet, accommodating Sarah who always put family harmony first was gone. And I was about to find out just how far my family would go to put me back in my place. To understand why that yacht meant everything to me, you need to know about Emma and me. We're 18 months apart, but we might as well have been from different planets. Emma arrived first, screaming her way into the world with the kind of confidence I've never possessed. She was walking at 10 months, talking in full sentences by 18 months, and by age 3, she had her parents wrapped around her tiny finger. When I came along, I was the quiet one, the easy baby who rarely cried and seemed content to just exist. Our childhood home in suburban Oak Park was a shrine to Emma's achievements. Piano recital programs, honor roll certificates, and cheerleading photos covered every surface. My science fair ribbons and debate team trophies got tucked away in corners, if they were displayed at all. Sarah doesn't need as much attention, I once overheard Mom tell my grandmother. She's just naturally independent. But I wasn't independent. I was starving for the kind of unconditional love and celebration Emma received effortlessly. I learned early that being low maintenance meant being low priority. The birthday thing started when I turned 16. Emma had gotten her license 3 months earlier, and the whole family had thrown her a surprise party with 30 friends, a DJ, and a car, a red Honda Civic with a giant bow on top. When my birthday rolled around, Mom made a sheet cake and we had dinner at Olive Garden. Just the 4 of us. Sweet 16 is more of a girl thing, Dad had said when I asked about the party. Besides, Emma's graduation is next month, so we need to save up for that. Emma's graduation party cost more than my college deposit. In college, I threw myself into computer science, finding solace in code that behaved predictably. If you wrote it correctly, it worked. If you didn't, it broke, but at least you knew why. Unlike families, where you could do everything right and still feel like a glitch in the system. I graduated magna cum laude. Emma graduated with a communications degree and a ring from her college boyfriend, Marcus. Guess which event got the bigger celebration? The pattern continued into our 20s. Emma's engagement party, Emma's wedding, the birth of her first child, then her second. Each milestone brought elaborate family gatherings, professional photographers, and months of planning. My promotion to senior developer at 28 warranted a congratulatory text from Mom. Last year, I'd made a real effort. I sent calendar invites for my birthday weeks in advance. I even planned the restaurant, made reservations, and told everyone it was important to me that we celebrate together. The day came and went. Emma had to take Sophie to a last-minute dance class. Mom was helping with that. Dad was at work, dealing with some crisis that couldn't wait. I ate dinner alone at Giuseppe's, staring at the reservation for 5 that had become a table for 1. But this year was different. This year, I'd done something extraordinary at work. The Morrison Project, a complete digital transformation for a major healthcare system, had been my baby for 18 months. I'd led a team of 12 developers, worked 60-hour weeks, and delivered ahead of schedule and under budget. The client was so impressed they signed a 5-year contract worth millions. My bonus was $85,000. I'd imagined telling my family about it over birthday dinner. I pictured Dad's proud smile, Mom's excitement, Emma actually putting her phone down to listen to me talk about something I'd accomplished. I'd rehearsed the story in my head dozens of times, polishing it like a presentation. Instead, I told the yacht broker. "Congratulations on your success, Miss Torres," he'd said as he handed me the keys. "You've earned this." It was the first time anyone in my family had congratulated me on anything in years. And he wasn't even family. Standing on the deck that first evening, watching the sun set over Lake Michigan, I felt something I hadn't experienced since childhood, pure, uncomplicated joy. No one else's achievements casting shadows over mine. No one comparing my celebration to someone else's. Just me, the water, and the proof that I was worth celebrating. My phone buzzed with another angry text from Emma. "Mom's crying because she thinks you've lost your mind." This is so selfish, Sarah. Selfish. The word I'd been trained to fear my entire life. The word that kept me small, accommodating, invisible. But as I watched the city lights reflect on the water, I realized something that would change everything. Maybe a little selfishness was exactly what I needed. Maybe it was time to stop being the easy daughter and start being the daughter who demanded to be seen. What I didn't know was that my family's reaction to the yacht was about to reveal a truth so ugly, it would make 32 years of neglect look like kindness. The family meeting was scheduled for Sunday dinner at Mom and Dad's house, the same dining room table where I'd blown out birthday candles alone more times than I could count. I arrived 15 minutes early, hoping to ease the tension with some one-on-one conversation. Instead, I walked into an ambush. "Sarah's here," Emma called out, like I was arriving for an intervention. Which, as it turned out, I was. The whole family was already seated: Mom, Dad, Emma, and Marcus. Even 8-year-old Sophie and 6-year-old Jake were there, coloring quietly in the corner. This wasn't dinner, this was a tribunal. "Sit down, honey," Mom said, her voice carrying that particular tone of disappointment I knew so well. "We're all worried about you." Worried? I remained standing, my hands still on my purse strap. "About what?" "About this yacht business," Dad jumped in. "It's just so unlike you. Making such a huge financial decision without talking to family first. That's not the Sarah we raised." "The Sarah you raised?" The words came out sharper than I intended. "The Sarah you raised hasn't had a birthday acknowledged in 4 years. The Sarah you raised just won a major industry award that none of you even know about. So maybe it's time the Sarah you raised started making some different choices." Emma leaned forward, her expression cycling through emotions I couldn't quite read. "Look, we get that you're upset about the birthday thing, okay? But Sarah, we're busy. I have 2 kids, Mom's dealing with Grandma's estate, Dad's got the business. And I have a career too." The words exploded out of me. "I have achievements, I have stress, I have a life that matters just as much as everyone else's in this room." "Of course your life matters," Mom said quickly. "We never said it didn't. You didn't have to say it." I pulled out my phone, scrolling to our family group chat. "Want to see something interesting?" In the last year, this chat has 847 messages. Emma's dance recitals, school plays, Marcus's promotion, Sophie's first tooth falling out, Jake's baseball games. You know how many of those messages are about me? The room fell silent. 17. And 12 of those are me asking if anyone wants to get coffee or see a movie. The other 5 are me saying I can't make it to whatever Emma event is happening because of work. "Sarah," Dad started. "I'm not done." I was shaking now, but I couldn't stop. "Last month, I spoke at a tech conference in San Francisco. 500 people. The keynote was about the work I did on the Morrison project. I was interviewed for TechCrunch. Did anyone ask how it went?" More silence. Emma posted 17 photos of Jake's soccer game that same weekend. 17. Got 43 comments from family friends about what a great mom she is. "Sarah, that's not fair," Emma said, but her voice was smaller now. "You know social media isn't real life." "Then what is real life, Emma?" "Because in real life, I've been standing in the shadow of your perfect existence for 32 years, and I'm finally tired of being invisible." That's when Marcus spoke up for the first time. "Maybe you're invisible because you choose to be." Emma puts herself out there, shares her life, asks for support when she needs it. You just disappear into your computer cave and then get mad when we don't read your mind about what you need. The accusation hit like a slap. My computer cave? You mean my career? The one that's actually paying for things? What's that supposed to mean? Emma's voice had gone sharp. I looked around the room at these people I'd loved my entire life, and suddenly I was tired of protecting their feelings at the expense of my own. "It means I know about the loan, Emma." The color drained from her face. "What loan?" Mom asked, looking between us. "The loan I co-signed for Emma's house 3 years ago. The one she couldn't qualify for on her own because Marcus was between jobs." The loan that's still showing up on my credit report because they've been late on payments 6 times. Sarah, don't, Emma whispered. But I was done with don't. And the emergency check I wrote last Christmas when Sophie needed dental work. $5,000 that was supposed to be paid back in 3 months. And the loan for Marcus's truck. And the money for Jake's private school tuition when your budget got tight. Mom was staring at Emma now. Honey, you never told us any of this. Because she didn't want you to know that your golden child's perfect life is built on her invisible sister's bank account. The words came out louder than I meant them to, causing Sophie to look up from her coloring book with wide eyes. Emma stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. How dare you? How dare you throw that in my face in front of my children? The same way you dared to let me pay for your life while never acknowledging mine? I never asked you to. You didn't have to ask. That's the point. I've been so desperate for any connection with this family that I'd rather be your ATM than nothing at all. The room erupted. Mom was crying, Dad was trying to play peacekeeper, Marcus was arguing that I was being manipulative, and Emma was shouting something about how I'd always been jealous of her. Through it all, I stood there watching my family fall apart and realized something profound. I felt lighter than I had in years. You want to know why I bought that yacht? I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. Because it's the first thing I've ever owned that's just mine. Not a graduation gift that got overshadowed by someone else's achievement. Not a celebration that got canceled for someone else's emergency. Just mine. I walked toward the door, then turned back one last time. And you know what? I love it. As I drove home that night, my phone buzzed with angry texts from Emma and hurt messages from my parents. But for the first time in my adult life, I didn't immediately start crafting apologetic responses. Instead, I drove to the marina, sat on my yacht, and watched the city lights dance on the water. That's when I realized the yacht was never about the money. It was about finally choosing myself. But Emma wasn't done fighting for the pedestal she'd occupied her entire life. And what she did next would force me to make a choice between family and self-respect that I never thought I'd have to make. The text arrived at 6:47 a.m. on Tuesday, meet me at Mom's. We need to fix this before it destroys our family. Emma. I stared at the message while drinking my morning coffee, watching the sunrise from my yacht's deck. I'd been sleeping on the boat since Sunday's confrontation, not because my apartment wasn't comfortable, but because this floating sanctuary was the only place I felt truly at peace. Part of me wanted to ignore the text. The old Sarah would have rushed over immediately, armed with apologies and ready to smooth things over. But the new Sarah, the one who'd finally found her voice, decided Emma could wait until I finished my coffee. When I arrived at Mom's house an hour later, I found Emma pacing in the kitchen, her face red and blotchy from crying. Mom sat at the table, looking older than I'd ever seen her. Thank God you're here, Emma said, rushing toward me. Sarah, we need to talk about this whole situation rationally. As adults. Okay, I said, taking a seat across from Mom. I'm listening. Emma sat down and pulled out her phone, sliding it across the table to me. First, I need you to see this. On the screen was a Facebook post from 3 days ago, my birthday. Emma had posted a family photo from Sophie's birthday party 2 months earlier, with the caption, "Grateful for this crazy, beautiful family of mine. Love you all so much." Red heart. I looked up at her, confused. What am I supposed to be seeing? Look at the comments. I scrolled down. Dozens of family, friends, and relatives had commented, including several happy birthday, Emma messages. Then I saw it, a comment from our cousin Lisa. Wait, isn't it Sarah's birthday today too? March 15th? Emma had replied, Sarah doesn't really do birthdays anymore. She's always working or busy with her own thing. Woman shrugging. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. You told people I don't do birthdays? Sarah, let me explain. You've been telling people I chose not to celebrate? Making it seem like it's my decision that the family forgets? It's not like that, Emma said, but she couldn't meet my eyes. It's just, you never remind us anymore. You stopped making a big deal about it, so we figured you didn't want us to either. I stopped making a big deal about it because making a big deal about it never worked. I stood up, pacing to the window. Do you remember my 28th birthday? I planned that dinner for weeks. I called everyone individually, sent calendar invites, made reservations. And when nobody showed up, you said I was being too needy about a birthday. Mom spoke for the first time. Honey, that's not how we remember it. Then how do you remember it, Mom? She hesitated, wringing her hands. We remember you being difficult about celebrations. Always comparing what you got to what Emma got. It was easier to just keep things low-key with you. The admission hung in the air like smoke. Easier to keep things low-key. Translation, easier to ignore me than deal with my difficult need to be celebrated. So you've all been telling yourselves, and everyone else, that I chose to be invisible. That made it easier to actually make me invisible. Emma finally looked up. That's not fair. We love you, Sarah. We've always loved you. No, I said quietly. You've loved the version of me that didn't ask for anything. The version that paid for your house and your kids' school and your husband's truck without making you feel guilty about it. The version that celebrated all of your achievements without expecting the same in return. Sarah. I'm not done. I turned back to face them both. You want to know what's really destroying this family? It's not the yacht. It's 32 years of me believing that I had to earn love through service. That I had to stay small so Emma could stay shining. That I had to be grateful for scraps of attention while watching her feast at the table of unconditional support. I pulled out my own phone, scrolling to my banking app. You want to talk about fixing this? Fine. Let's fix it. I showed them the screen, a payment of $847.32 to Emma's mortgage company. What is that? Mom asked. Emma's mortgage payment for this month. I've been making her house payments for the last 6 months because Marcus got laid off again and they were facing foreclosure. Emma's face went white. Sarah, you promised you wouldn't. I promised I wouldn't tell Mom and Dad that their golden child was broke. But I never promised to keep paying for the lie. I tapped my phone screen, showing them another transaction, mortgage payment, canceled. Emma shot to her feet. You can't do that. We'll lose the house. Then maybe it's time to tell Mom and Dad the truth about how perfect your life really is. What happened next broke my heart and freed my soul at the same time. Emma collapsed back into her chair and started sobbing, real, ugly, desperate sobs that shook her whole body. Through her tears, the truth came pouring out. Marcus had been unemployed for 8 months, not 3 weeks like they'd told everyone. They'd been living off credit cards and my secret loans for over a year. The perfect family photos on social media were staged in expensive restaurants they couldn't afford, paid for with money that wasn't theirs. I didn't know how to tell you, Emma wept, looking at Mom. Everyone expects me to have it all together. The successful marriage, the beautiful kids, the perfect life. I couldn't let you down. Mom reached across the table, taking Emma's hand. Oh, sweetheart. You could never let us down. Why didn't you just ask for help? Because Sarah was already helping, Emma whispered. And she never made me feel bad about it. She never made me beg or explain or justify. She just gave. Like she always does. I watched the scene, my sister finally vulnerable, my mother finally seeing Emma as human rather than perfect, and felt something unexpected, not anger, but sadness. Sadness for all of us trapped in these roles we'd never questioned. Emma, I said softly, sitting back down. I need you to understand something. I didn't give because I'm naturally generous. I gave because I thought that's how I earned my place in this family. Because being useful felt better than being invisible. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. I never wanted you to feel invisible. But you never tried to make me feel visible either. The three of us sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, I spoke again. Here's what's going to happen. I'm not canceling Emma's mortgage payment this month because Sophie and Jake deserve a stable home. But this is the last month I'm covering it. Emma, you and Marcus need to figure out your finances, honestly this time. Maybe that means selling the house and downsizing. Maybe it means bankruptcy. But it means facing reality. Emma nodded, still crying. And Mom, I continued, I need you to understand that I'm not the easy daughter anymore. I'm not going to pretend that being ignored doesn't hurt just because it's easier for everyone else. My birthday matters. My achievements matter. My feelings matter. They always mattered, honey, Mom said, but her voice was uncertain. Then act like it. Starting this year. I stood up to leave, then turned back one final time. I love you both. I love this family. But I love myself too now. And the yacht isn't going anywhere. It's my reminder that I'm worth celebrating, even if I have to do it alone. As I walked back to my car, I heard Emma call out, Sarah. Wait! I turned around. She was standing in the doorway, mascara streaking down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she said. I'm really, truly sorry. For all of it. For the first time in our adult lives, the apology felt real. I know, I said. Me too. That evening, I sat on my yacht, my beautiful, ridiculous, perfectly impulsive yacht, and watched another sunset over Lake Michigan. My phone had been quiet all day. No angry texts, no guilt trips, no demands to fix everyone else's problems. Just silence. And for the first time in my life, silence felt like peace instead of abandonment. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Emma, happy belated birthday, Sarah. I know it's 3 days late, but I wanted to say it anyway. I'm proud of you. For the yacht, for the Morrison project, for finally telling us the truth. You deserved better from us, and I'm going to try to do better. Love you. I smiled, screenshotting the message. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. 3 months later, Emma and Marcus sold their house and moved into a smaller place they could actually afford. Marcus found work at a local company, less prestigious than his old job, but steady. Emma started a blog about financial recovery and authentic living that became surprisingly popular. Mom and Dad started asking about my work, actually listening to my answers, and remembering important dates. They even visited the yacht, bringing sandwiches and staying for a sunset cruise. But the biggest change was in me. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I started saying no to requests that felt more like demands. I planned my own birthday party for the first time in years, a small gathering on the yacht with friends who actually knew when my birthday was. And every morning, I woke up on my floating sanctuary and reminded myself of the lesson that yacht had taught me: you can't wait for other people to celebrate your worth. Sometimes, you have to buy yourself a yacht and dare the world to tell you you don't deserve it. The yacht has a name now, painted in elegant script across the stern, finally. Because that's what it represents, the moment I finally chose myself. 6 months after buying the yacht, I thought the drama was over. Emma was rebuilding her life honestly, Mom and Dad were making genuine efforts to include me, and I'd found a new rhythm of self-respect that felt sustainable. I should have known that transformation is never that simple. The call came on a Tuesday evening while I was reviewing code for a new client. Unknown number, but something made me answer. "Is this Sarah Torres?" The voice was crisp, professional, unfamiliar. "Yes, who's asking?" "My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm a reporter with the Chicago Tribune, and I'm working on a story about family financial dynamics in the digital age. I understand you recently made some interesting financial decisions that affected your family?" My blood went cold. "I'm sorry, what?" "We received a tip about your situation from someone close to your family. The yacht purchase, the mortgage payments, the family intervention. It's exactly the kind of modern family story our readers are interested in. Would you be willing to comment?" I hung up immediately, my hands shaking. Someone had called a reporter. Someone in my family had turned our private crisis into potential public humiliation. My phone rang again, Emma this time. "Sarah, thank God. Did someone from the Tribune call you? You knew about this?" My voice was barely controlled. "I just found out. Sarah, I swear it wasn't me. But we need to talk. Now." 20 minutes later, Emma was sitting across from me in my apartment, looking more panicked than I'd ever seen her. "Marcus is freaking out," she said without preamble. "If this story runs, everyone will know about our financial problems. His new job, our mortgage situation, everything." "Emma, who did you tell about what happened with us?" She looked down at her hands. "Sarah, I've been going to therapy since our big fight. Dr. Martinez suggested I join a support group for people dealing with family financial stress. I thought it was anonymous, just first names, you know? And there's this woman in the group, Lisa. She seemed so understanding, so supportive. She said she'd been through something similar with her sister. I told her everything." My stomach dropped. Everything? The yacht, the mortgage payments, the confrontation. She seemed so sympathetic, like she really got it. She even said she was proud of me for finally being honest about our problems. "Emma." I started, but she cut me off. "Sarah, I think Lisa is Jennifer Walsh. The reporter. I think the whole support group thing was a setup to get people to share their stories." The manipulation was breathtaking. A fake support group, designed to harvest vulnerable people's most private moments for public consumption. "We have to stop this story," Emma said, tears starting. "Marcus will lose his job if his boss finds out about our financial history. And your clients, won't this affect your business?" That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about Emma's embarrassment or Marcus's job. This was about my reputation in an industry where trust and stability mattered. If a story ran painting me as financially irresponsible or family drama prone, it could destroy the career I'd worked so hard to build. I need to think, I said, but Emma grabbed my arm. Sarah, there's something else. Something I haven't told you. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, this is Jennifer Walsh. I have recordings of your sister discussing your family situation in detail. I'm running the story tomorrow unless you agree to an interview by 6 p.m. tonight. Your choice how you want to be represented. Emma, what else haven't you told me? Her face crumpled. The support group meetings were recorded. Lisa said it was for people who missed sessions, but now. Sarah, she has hours of me talking about you, about our family, about the money. She has me saying things that sound really bad out of context. What things? Like how you used money to control our relationship. How you held the mortgage payments over my head. How the yacht was a manipulative gesture to make us feel guilty. Emma was sobbing now. I was angry when I said those things, working through my feelings in therapy, but she recorded all of it. I stared at my sister, processing the magnitude of what she'd done. In her quest to heal from our family drama, she'd handed a stranger ammunition to destroy both our lives. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know I messed up, but we have to figure out how to stop this. I looked at the text again, then at Emma's tear-stained face. 6 months ago, I would have immediately started problem-solving, figuring out how to protect everyone else even if it meant sacrificing myself. But the woman who'd bought a yacht to celebrate her own worth wasn't going to go down without a fight. Emma, I need you to listen very carefully. You're going to call this Jennifer Walsh back and tell her exactly what kind of predatory journalism she's engaging in. You're going to explain that you were manipulated into sharing private family information under false pretenses. Will that work? Probably not. But it'll create a record of her deceptive practices. I was already moving toward my laptop. And I'm going to do something that 6 months ago would have terrified me. What? I'm going to tell our story first. On my terms. By 11 p.m. that night, I'd written a 3,000-word blog post titled The Yacht, the Family, and the Reporter Who Thought She Could Exploit Our Healing. I detailed everything: the forgotten birthdays, the financial codependency, the family confrontation, and now this attempted exploitation of our journey toward healthier relationships. But most importantly, I wrote about the bigger issue: how women's stories of family conflict get twisted into entertainment, how financial boundaries between family members are sensationalized, and how predatory journalism preys on people in vulnerable situations. I posted it on Medium at midnight, then shared it across my professional networks with a simple caption: sometimes standing up for yourself means standing up to people who want to profit from your pain. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, the post had thousands of views and hundreds of comments from people sharing their own stories of family financial dynamics, forgotten achievements, and the courage it takes to choose yourself. But more importantly, other women started coming forward about Jennifer Walsh and her fake support group scheme. By the next morning, there were 7 similar stories, all following the same pattern: vulnerable people manipulated into sharing private family dramas that were then turned into newspaper fodder. Jennifer Walsh's story never ran. Instead, the Tribune ran a piece about unethical journalism practices and the importance of informed consent in reporting. Emma called me that afternoon, her voice different than I'd heard it in months. Sarah, I read your blog post. I had no idea you were such a good writer. Thanks, but that's not why you called. No, it's not. She paused. I called because I realized something. Reading it. You've been protecting all of us your whole life, haven't you? Even now, when I screwed up and almost destroyed both our reputations, you found a way to fix it that made something positive out of the mess. I thought about that. Maybe. But Emma, that's part of what needs to change. I can't keep being the family crisis manager. You need to start solving your own problems. I know. And I'm trying. That's actually why I called. I wanted to tell you that Marcus and I are separating. The news hit me like a surprise wave. Emma, what? Why? Because going through all this made me realize that I've been living someone else's version of my life for so long, I don't even know who I really am. The perfect marriage, the perfect house, the perfect family, none of it was real. And Marcus, he's not a bad person, but he's not my person. I think I stayed with him because divorcing him would have meant admitting that my life wasn't as perfect as everyone thought. Are you okay? I'm terrified, she admitted. But I'm also excited. For the first time in years, I get to make choices based on what I actually want, not what looks good on social media or what makes other people comfortable. After we hung up, I sat on my yacht watching the sunset and marveling at how much had changed. 6 months ago, buying this boat felt like the most radical thing I'd ever done. Now it seemed like just the beginning. The blog post had been shared over 50,000 times. I'd received dozens of interview requests from legitimate journalists, 3 speaking opportunities, and 2 potential book deals. But more than that, I'd received hundreds of messages from women thanking me for putting words to experiences they'd never been able to articulate. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Saw your article, honey. Dad and I are so proud of you for standing up to that reporter. But more than that, we're proud of the woman you've become. We should have celebrated her a long time ago. It was the kind of acknowledgement I'd waited 32 years to receive. And while it felt good, I realized I didn't need it anymore. I'd learned to celebrate myself. But as I watched the lights of Chicago twinkle to life across the water, I had no idea that the biggest test of my newfound independence was yet to come. Someone else had been watching my transformation, and they weren't happy about the strong, boundary-setting woman I'd become. 1 year after buying the yacht, I stood in the ballroom of the Palmer House Hotel, looking out at 300 of Chicago's top tech professionals. I was about to receive the Innovator of the Year award from the Chicago Technology Council, the biggest honor of my career. Emma sat in the front row with Mom and Dad, all 3 of them beaming with pride. Marcus was there too, having driven up from Springfield where he'd found steady work at a smaller company. For the first time in my adult life, my entire family had shown up to celebrate me. Ladies and gentlemen, the presenter announced, please welcome Sarah Torres, whose revolutionary work on healthcare data systems has transformed how millions of patients receive care. As I walked to the podium, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. The forgotten birthdays that led to family therapy. The lawsuit Emma had threatened but never filed. The months of rebuilding trust and redefining relationships. The yacht that had become a symbol not of rebellion, but of self-worth. Thank you, I began, looking out at the audience. A year ago, I made what many people thought was an impulsive decision. I bought a yacht to celebrate my birthday because my family had forgotten it. Again. A ripple of surprised laughter went through the crowd. That yacht taught me something important. You can't wait for other people to celebrate your worth. Sometimes you have to throw your own party. Sometimes you have to be your own biggest advocate. Sometimes you have to buy your own yacht. I found Emma in the audience. She was crying, but smiling. But here's what I learned after that: when you finally start celebrating yourself, the people who truly love you will learn to celebrate you too. When you stop accepting scraps, the people worth having in your life will start offering full meals. When you stop being invisible, the right people will finally see you. The applause was thunderous, but I barely heard it. All I could see was my family, standing and clapping like they'd finally understood what I'd been trying to tell them my whole life. After the ceremony, we gathered at Navy Pier for the after party. Emma found me on the deck of the yacht, now permanently docked at the marina as both my home and my reminder. "Sarah," she said, "I need to tell you something." "What's that?" "I never hired that lawyer. I mean, I consulted with one, but I never actually filed anything. I was just scared. Scared that if I admitted you'd been the strong one all along, I'd have to figure out how to be strong too." I smiled. "And did you? Figure out how to be strong?" Emma gestured toward the party, where Marcus was talking animatedly with my colleagues about his new job, where Mom was showing photos of both of us to my boss, where Dad was actually listening to someone explain my award-winning project. "I'm learning. We all are. Turns out when you stop enabling someone, they either step up or step away." Marcus stepped up. "Our marriage is actually better now that it's based on partnership instead of desperation." "And Mom and Dad?" "They're trying. Really trying." Dad put a framed photo of tonight's award ceremony right next to my wedding picture on his desk. Same size frame, same prominence. "Mom asked me 3 times this week if I thought you'd like the flowers she picked for the centerpieces." I laughed. "She asked me about the flowers too. They're learning that they have 2 daughters worth celebrating, not just one daughter to celebrate and one daughter to depend on." As the evening wound down and the last guests departed, I found myself alone on the yacht with my thoughts. My phone buzzed with notifications, congratulations from colleagues, interview requests from tech publications, LinkedIn messages from industry leaders. But the message that mattered most was from Emma. "Thank you for teaching us that love without respect is just performance. Tonight felt like the first time we loved you and respected you." It felt right. I poured a glass of champagne and sat on the deck, watching the city lights dance on Lake Michigan. A year ago, I'd sat in the same spot feeling desperately alone, wondering if choosing myself meant losing my family forever. Now I knew the truth. Choosing myself had been the only way to find my family at all. The yacht bobbed gently in its slip, no longer a symbol of rebellion but a reminder of a simple truth I'd taken 32 years to learn: you teach people how to treat you. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to accept less than you deserve. My phone rang, unknown number, but something made me answer. "Is this Sarah Torres?" "Yes. Who's asking?" "My name is Jennifer Martinez. I know this sounds crazy, but I found your Medium article about the yacht and family dynamics. I'm sitting in my car outside a boat dealership right now, trying to work up the courage to buy a sailboat with my divorce settlement money. My family thinks I've lost my mind." I smiled, looking out at the water. "What's your biggest fear about buying it?" "That I'm being selfish. That I should use the money for something more practical. That people will think I'm having a breakdown instead of a breakthrough." "Jennifer, can I tell you something? The best decision I ever made was the one that looked crazy to everyone else but felt perfectly sane to me. You can't live your life trying to make sense to people who've never bothered to understand you." "So you think I should buy the sailboat?" "I think you should buy whatever makes you feel like you're finally living your own life instead of everyone else's version of it." After we hung up, I realized something profound had happened. The story that had started with a yacht purchased in desperate loneliness had become a story that helped other women choose themselves too. I opened my laptop and started typing. 1 year ago, I bought a yacht because my family forgot my birthday. It seemed like the end of my family relationships, but it turned out to be the beginning of real ones. Here's what I learned about the difference between being loved and being respected, and why sometimes you have to lose yourself completely to finally be found. The blog post would go viral within a week. The book deal would follow within a month. The speaking engagements would change my career trajectory entirely. But that night, sitting on my yacht under the stars, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was thinking about the girl who used to blow out birthday candles alone, wishing for someone to notice her. She would never have imagined that the answer wasn't to be more noticeable, but to notice herself first. The yacht had a new nameplate now, painted in elegant script across the stern, worth celebrating. Because that's what I'd finally learned, you don't have to earn the right to be celebrated. You just have to be brave enough to celebrate yourself. And sometimes, that courage comes in the form of an $80,000 yacht and the willingness to use it. The city lights reflected off the water like scattered diamonds, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. Not because anyone else had made room for me, but because I'd finally made room for myself. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and honoring your own worth? Have you ever made a decision that seemed crazy to everyone else but felt like the first sane thing you'd done in years? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Sometimes the most radical act of self-love is simply refusing to stay small for other people's comfort. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about family, boundaries, and learning to celebrate yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they're worth celebrating too. Until next time, remember, you're worth celebrating, even if you have to throw your own party. Sometimes you have to buy your own yacht. And that's perfectly okay. Your worth isn't negotiable. Your dreams aren't selfish. Your happiness isn't optional. You are worth celebrating, yacht or no yacht. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and honoring your own worth? Have you ever made a decision that seemed crazy to everyone else but felt like the first sane thing you'd done in years? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Sometimes the most radical act of self-love is simply refusing to stay small for other people's comfort. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about family, boundaries, and learning to celebrate yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they're worth celebrating too. Until next time, remember, you're worth celebrating, even if you have to throw your own party. Sometimes you have to buy your own yacht. And that's perfectly okay.